So thank you everybody to come to this panel. So we will discuss about here the usage of Admiral Leo, so our next satellite service. And here we have a clear example with Jorge about development of business where no more infrastructure is there, no electricity, no internet. Can you explain a bit what you are trying to do in Mexico? And how you will use the satellites.
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. Sure, Guillaume. So let me start telling you a little bit about Illumexico and what are we. So we're a Mexican social enterprise that provides energy to rural communities. Usually these communities are off-grid, offline, isolated, very far away from the conventional grid. So we have been doing this for the past 10 years. Now, let me give you a little bit of context. The energy poverty it's a problem that's been there for a long time, and it's a worldwide problem. And only in Mexico, it's estimated that 2 million people don't have electricity access. And if you go and consider the whole world, this reaches almost 1 billion people. So, as you can imagine, to reach those customers, it's quite challenging. And the challenge has to do with three main aspects. The first one has to do with poverty, and most of our customers have low income. Most of our customers have low income, and their income is quite variable. And this means that it's very important to have a solution that's flexible enough for them to be able to afford it. The second one is the access. Those communities are usually very far away from the cities, from towns, and it becomes really hard for that last mile distribution. And then the other important thing is the high cost. So extending the grid to reach those places, it's often very costly. That's why it's not done. And to provide the service, it's also very costly. But we think and we're sure that the impact outweighs all these challenges. It's a fundamental right to have access to energy, and the United Nations, through the Sustainable Development Goals, have stated that as well. So the seventh Sustainable Development Goal is to have affordable and clean energy for everyone, and this enables to have other services as well for those communities. So if we're able to provide energy access to them, that will improve their access to basic services, that will improve their education, their health, income generation, and nutrition. And as a matter of fact, those 5 things are also part of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the impact of reaching these communities is quite important and very big. So our service, we provide prepay solar energy for off-grid households. We have a solar as a service model. And that means that our customers pay for the service in a monthly fashion. We have different solutions, and it has a wide range of possibilities. So it goes from the household, small illumination system at 25 watts, all the way to productivity for small businesses, and also for community access, which means that we have solutions for schools, we have solutions for health clinics, we have solutions for other spaces that the community used to gather. And in order to have a prepay energy and for it to work, there are 2 main things that need to be in place. The first one is the technology, right? So we need a technology that enables to have a prepay energy and allows the user to do the payments, to control the system, and to provide information out of it. When we started with this, we looked around in the market, and we didn't find any provider that could offer this solution. So we decided to develop it ourselves. And we developed El Colibri, which is this meter here. And it's a smart meter that's designed specifically for off-grid, offline application. And it has the possibility to work with bigger solar home systems. As a very important part of our device, wanted it to be IoT enabled, and there's where Sigfox comes in place. It provides us the opportunity to connect the device, to retrieve information, and to understand our customers in a way that we were not able to do it before. And finally, we have partnered with Engasa, which is a prepay provider, to provide the technology for all the prepay encryption and service. And the second thing that needs to be in place is the payment network, right? So people need places where they should go and they can go and pay for the energy. Those points have to be readily available. They have to be close to our customers. They have to be accessible. So we have partnered with local shops in those villages and communities. And in the next year, we're going to deploy over 400 payment points throughout Mexico. So to date, this is our impact. We have reached over 93,000 users. We have installed over 21,000 households. We have 12 Ilucentros, which those are our local offices, and they're spread throughout the country. And we have installed over 3 megawatts of installed capacity, and displaced over 13,000 tons of CO2. This is because before, people used other sources of energy, such as candles, kerosene, and other type of sources that usually are very, very polluting and expensive as well. So let me talk a little bit about the rural smart metering. This is particularly interesting for us because it allows us, and it gives us the opportunity to have access to certain information that will allow us to have better understanding on our customers' needs, aspirations, and also to quantify the impact that energy access have on their development. As of now, rural consumption information, it's scarce and it's very rare. One reason for it is that they're not connected, and another one is that they are quite new with electricity access, right? So what we're planning to monitor is consumption, but also system performance, battery lifetime expectancy, and the credit performance of our users. So let me tell you a little bit about our operations. We're currently in 18 states of Mexico, spread through the whole country. And we have started partnering with WND Mexico, which is the Sigfox local operator there, to do a first test on terrestrial network deployment in the southwest of Mexico. So you can see there's a blue circle there. That's the state called Campeche. We chose that state because we have almost 1,000 customers there. And it's a state that has a very flat geography, which is quite good for terrestrial network. The only issue there is that it's also jungle. So it's still hard to implement all the solution, right? And we have been working there. It has worked quite well. But soon enough, we figured out that this terrestrial network deployment is going to be quite challenging. And there are two main reasons for that. First, it has to do with the geography. So if you see the map, all those brown circles there are mountain ranges in Mexico. But it's also the places where we have our customers. Deploying a terrestrial network in those areas, it's going to be quite challenging because of the performance of the system. It's not going to be the optimal one. And then the other thing is that it's the density of connectivity there, of connection. So for the local operator, it's very important to have a huge amount of connections to make it profitable. And as of now, in those regions, even though, as we will see later, there's a huge potential, there are not enough connections there. So it's quite challenging to implement the terrestrial network in those regions. So here is where Admiral Leo comes into play, and it's a very relevant and important opportunity. So if we're able to have access to that information that we're currently measuring, then that means that we will be able to first connect villages that are without any type of connectivity now, but also we're going to be able to have real-time data, and that will allow us to provide an advanced customer service to our customers. And if we think on the impact that this connectivity has in our operations, it's quite important. So first of all, you can imagine that it's quite expensive to reach these places, right? So, so you can have an idea, the average time it takes us to reach those villages, it's around 5 hours from the closer town. And those 5 hours can be either in 4x4 SUVs, it can be walking, it can be a combination of both, maybe using horses, donkeys, or any other means of transportation that's not conventional to get all the way there. So if we are able to retrieve the data, we're going to have a reduction in our OPEX because we can plan our visits, and that's a really important part of how we operate. And also, we're going to be able to know how the system is performing, to anticipate any failures, and schedule regular maintenance as it is required. And the other thing is that we'll be able to have a consumption data and a lifetime forecast for our components, right? So for replacing those components, and also to make targeted offerings to our customers. So if we see that there's a customer that has been increasingly using more energy, then perhaps he'll be interested in having a bigger system or upgrading his system. So that can help us also with the sales in those regions.
Just one question on this.
Sure.
How it works today for this operational aspect? How do you bring support to your customer?
So right now, the way we do it is we go visit them regularly. So on a regular basis, we go to all our communities. Mainly, let's say, in an average, every 6 months, we visit every user. Even if they're happy with their service and it's working fine. So we just go and do normal checking of the system, and that's how we retrieve also the data. So we go, we check, we read, and then in another platform that works offline, we retrieve the data and we send it back. It's very human intensive, and it also takes a lot of time and effort to reach and to monitor those systems. And one very important thing is that the impact of connecting these villages does not stop with us and with having information for our own business. So there's a huge opportunity that we envision for these communities to be connected. And just to mention two of them, here are two examples of how the connectivity of these villages can impact their life. One has to do with financial security and with productivity. So if we can provide them information on, let's say, forecasts for planning for agricultural management, then they can enhance their productivity. If we're able to have localized data for microinsurance underwriting, then they can have access to financing. And also, we can provide them with improved physical security and basic information. And this is very relevant because, for instance, in Mexico, we're a country that have earthquakes. We're a country that usually have hurricanes. So we're able to provide them with alerts of, let's say, a natural disaster that's coming, or if they're able to send alerts, if there's a healthcare emergency, then local government can have the opportunity to answer faster than they do today. So there's a huge benefit to be had for our customers if we are able to connect them. So as of now, we have health clinics installed, and some of the things we're also working with is to have like this emergency button which they can press if they have any sort of medical emergency, so the local authorities are notified, and then they can help those villages to overcome those issues. So connectivity can be really life-changing for the people that live in these isolated areas. So far, we have had in this journey a lot of partners that have helped to provide the service and to reach all these people. But as you can imagine, if we want to continue to do this, and as we want to reach even more people and improve their lives not only by having energy access but by providing them additional services and allowing them to develop, we need more partners to work with. And that's why we think that working with Sigfox and with Eutelsat in the Admiral Leo project is something that definitely will be benefiting not only our customers, but potentially customers throughout the world. So that's a little bit of an overview of what Illumexico does.
Okay, so the next step for you will be to integrate Admiral Leo. So Guillaume, could you explain us what are the next step concretely for Admiral Leo to set up this service? What will be the different phases that we will have in the coming months, and that Jorge will concretely follow in order to have a service up and running in the coming quarters?
Yes, thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Jorge. We have a clear plan to develop a satellite infrastructure in order to support the Admiral Leo service. This plan is to launch 3 satellites next year. One which will be a test satellite, and 2 which will directly support commercial applications like the ones that you described. I think it's a perfect fit with the Admiral Leo service. And we also have a plan to launch additional satellites by the end of 2020 and early 2021 in order to improve the number of messages that we can process and also reduce the latency between the moment that the messages are emitted by the object and that they are collected by the end users. And beyond this date, Eutelsat, because IoT is a key strategic priority for our company, is committed to continue to enhance the infrastructure, to increase the number of satellites, and to rapidly lower to improve, in fact, the level of service and the number of messages that we can process. So we are targeting by the end of 2022 to have 20 to 30 satellites in the air and to reduce the latency to less than 90 minutes collecting the messages. So yeah, I think we can start, in fact, working with you to prepare for the launch of these services, and we are very glad to be partners together.
So maybe for people that are there and interested by the service, what will be concretely the next step for, I would say, another business compared to Jorge? What will be the next step that you can do with the partner, with Eutelsat, to accompany, I would say, this integration of the satellite service?
With Illumexico and the different partners that are interested by the Admiral Leo, we can start working, defining precisely the use cases together, understanding the requirements, the environment in which you operate, to work on, along with Sigfox and its partners, on the devices that are required to connect to the satellite, and then in 2020, as soon as the satellites are there, be ready to test live the transmission of messages in order to be ready for full-scale deployment as soon as 2021.
Okay. I think, do we have questions about the satellite service, about, I would say, the business that Jorge would like to develop in Mexico? Any questions? No? Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you to both of you for this presentation. Of course, do not hesitate to come back to us if you have any questions. There is a booth of Sigfox dedicated to the satellite, so we will be glad to present you the service and how we can move forward on this topic. Thank you very much.